What's going on, everybody? Haunted Beard here. I just wanted to bring you a quick little review from my cruise ship room. I got the opportunity to watch Reptile, one of the newest Netflix releases, and this one stars Benicio del Toro and Justin Timberlake and is pretty much a kind of police procedural detective murder mystery type story, as Del Toro plays the lead detective on a case where Justin Timberlake's girlfriend is found dead. This one is definitely more of a slower paced procedural. Definitely takes its time, is more interested in dealing with the actual procedure and investigation of the crime, delving into the clues and the details and the mystery, which I greatly appreciated. Is definitely more slower paced, takes its time, and really kind of avoids becoming more of like a straight out intense action thriller sort of thing. It's just definitely more interested in kind of the details of the case, which I appreciated. I think the setup here is pretty intriguing. I was definitely hooked from early on. This is kind of a movie that's sort of right up my alley, and the fact that it did focus on the details definitely grabbed me right in. I was very intrigued and hooked in by the story. Del Toro's performance is pretty good. He definitely gives a more kind of subdued and understated performance. Michael Pitt is also good. His performance is good. His character, however, I feel is a bit of a trope, as you kind of see this type of weird, creepy sort of character show up in these types of movies. And so it's kind of a bit hit or miss for me there. Again, his performance and how he portrays it is good. It's just we've kind of seen this type of character in this type of movie before. The movie is a bit longer than it probably needs to be. It clocks in at like 2 hours and 16 minutes. And they probably could have shaved about 15 to 20 minutes off this thing. There's kind of a spot in the middle section of it where it kind of hits a bit of a lull and things kind of slow down, and you kind of know what's going to happen. And so they kind of could have just sort of removed this sort of middle section of the movie a little bit. That would have helped the pacing a little bit. Now, regards to the central mystery, as I said, I quite enjoyed it and was definitely engaged throughout the vast majority of it. And with movies like this, it really all comes down to the ending and how they conclude and wrap things up. And in this case, and of course I'll keep this spoiler free, I felt that the route they went was a bit generic in terms of just how everything is resolved. We've kind of seen it go this sort of direction before in movies like this. And I wouldn't complain too much about it. Like I said, the majority of the movie I was still engaged and entertained in the central mystery of it. One of the things, though, that left me a little bit puzzled and confused is that there's a few things that are kind of subtly shown throughout the film that kind of allude to something, specifically to the title of the film, Reptile, that are never really dealt with or delved into or explained anymore. Like early on in the film, one of the characters is shown with this tattoo on their back that to me looked like snake scales. Also, too, early on, within the first 5 or 10 minutes, a character sees this snake skin at a house, like the shedded snake skin. And so you're definitely getting these kind of connections to the title of the movie. There's a couple other things that happen throughout the movie that are a little sort of off or strange, that are intriguing, but the movie never really touches on it. And so I'm not entirely sure why the movie is called Reptile, and I felt like they were kind of alluding to something, or they were going to maybe sort of take this movie in a unconventional direction, and I'm not entirely sure what direction that was going to be, but then they sort of revert back to sort of just a generic conclusion. And so that may come across as a little bit confusing, but I think once you watch the movie, you'll probably understand a little bit more what I'm talking about. But there's some stuff in here that just felt like they were going to kind of take this thing in a bit of a different direction, or there was going to be something in here due to sort of the subtle clues that the movie left you that they just never really touch on or deal with at all. And instead, they just kind of go with, like I said, a bit of this sort of generic route and how they conclude the movie. So anyways, I would still recommend this one. It's still, like I said, kept my interest and I was engaged throughout most of it. But just how they kind of concluded it kept this one from being something that I would highly, highly recommend. So for me, I'm going to give Reptile 6 out of 10. So those are my thoughts. Like always, hit me up down in the comments below. Would greatly appreciate it. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on The Haunted Beard.